Hey you guys, how are you doing? Let's talk about the best PSN download only games on PlayStation 3. While I prefer physical games, there are a few must-have digital download games on the PS3 store. So today, let's take a look at the best downloadable games on PlayStation 3. Stick around and grab yourself some pizza and a coffee, kick back and make yourself comfortable, and let's get the kick out of gaming. And we're kicking off this list with Deadfall Adventures, Heart of Atlantis. I stumbled upon this game while doing research for this video, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. This is like a knockoff campy version of an Indiana Jones adventure game, which comes with the full indie package, solving big brain puzzles and of course fighting all kinds of goons. So far I'm 2 hours in and it's been a roller coaster ride. This game is far from perfect, but it seems like a fun adventure game for a few bucks. This is also a digital download only on PlayStation 3. You can get a physical copy on Xbox 360 or PC, but if you're a PlayStation fan, your only option is the PS3 store. And after you're done shooting mummies, load up your Move controller to blast some zombies in Resident Evil, The Umbrella and Darkside Chronicles. Rail shooters and light gun games are a guilty pleasure of mine. As a huge Resident Evil fan, I had to give The Umbrella and Darkside Chronicles a try. This is a Wii port with HD visuals, so the PS3 version is the way to go. I had a blast shooting zombies and reliving some of my favorite Resident Evil moments. For the most part, we play familiar story pieces from the original Resident Evil games, but often from a different perspective, which is pretty cool. There are some missions that feature new locations and story pieces, which is awesome for Resident Evil fans. The only downside is the automated camera movement seems to be done by a zombie too. It's a bit too wobbly for my taste, and on my first playthrough I felt a bit underpowered, but overall it's a pretty solid package with tons of stuff to do and unlock. And from exploding zombie heads we go to collecting bounties on some other heads. In Oddworld Stranger's Wrath HD. Based on the Oddworld games, in this game we play a badass bounty hunter, but we soon find out that bounty hunting is a very complicated profession. We are sent out to capture some goons dead or alive with some very unique gameplay mechanics. First of all, we use live ammo for our weapons that we have to collect in the levels, and the gameplay is a mix of platforming and enemy encounters where we have to use traps to lure goons into them. It's a pretty innovative gameplay loop, and there is an interesting world with tons of unique characters to explore. Oddworld Stranger's Wrath made it on many platforms, but the best way to play it is the PS3 or Switch. Next up, we have an absolute classic, one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games of all time, Mega Man Legends. You could secure yourself a pretty pricey physical version, but I recommend downloading it for a few bucks on your PS3. As Mega Man, we are crashing on an unknown island with our trustworthy crew, where we embark on an epic adventure to find treasures and unearth mysteries. Along the way we fight some charming pirates. Mega Man Legends got that Ocarina of Time early 2000s anime aesthetic and level progression system where we have to gain new abilities to enter previously closed off areas, fighting our way through dungeons brimming with items, as well as roaming different parts of the upper world city, loitering around, playing minigames and spending money on upgrading our weapons or rebuilding the town. The controls can be a bit tanky if you're not used to it, but if you like what you're seeing, then I highly recommend you give Mega Man Legends a try. I'm really digging it. And if the PlayStation 3 store was an ocean, then the next game would be a hidden gem waiting to be discovered at the bottom of the sea. Hydrophobia Prophecy. Whew! This game was a blast. Trapped in an underwater facility during a terrorist attack was never more fun. The gameplay revolves around water physics combined with some environmental dangers like electricity and floating explosive barrels. Let's just say these goons had a blast, and I had a ton of fun. There are some pretty dope environmental puzzles as well. The story is engaging and the voice acting is top notch. Sadly, the game is just 3 hours long. But for $2 it's a steal. I highly recommend getting this download only game. High tide or low tide, this game should always be by your side. And if you're still not convinced to dust off your Move controller, the next game is for you. Dead Space Extraction HD. This is my favorite light gun shooter of all time. It is the perfect example on how to do rail shooters. Not only is it an awesome addition to the Dead Space lore, it also features the best run and gun gameplay ever. Uncommon to light gun shooters, Dead Space Extraction is a cinematic experience, combined with light puzzle elements and the well-known strategic Dead Space style dismemberment, makes this one of the best co-op light gun games out there. The only downside is that the fully voice acted 45 minutes motion comic of the Wii version was cut in the PlayStation 3 release, so you either have HD visuals or a motion comic. But overall, Dead Space Extraction is a complete package that made me whole again. Like every Dead Space game, it gets pretty dreadful, so if you need some light-hearted zombie slaughtering, I recommend you give the next PlayStation 3 exclusive a try, Yakuza Dead Souls. This game had a physical release, but like Mega Man Legends, its price has gone up pretty steep. So the best way to secure a cheap copy is to get it as a download on your PS3. It's a spin-off of the classic Yakuza games, but instead of mobbing the floor with some goons, this time the boys brought the big guns to deal with a zombie outbreak, and you will have an absolute blast if you're in the mood to pile up the dead. Another similarity to Mega Man Legends is that the controls and gameplay are a bit janky, but still, as soon as you get into the flow of blasting zombie heads, left and right, there is no turning back. And like every Yakuza game, Dead Souls strikes the right balance between main story and hitting the town for some fun side activities. So if you want to explore the nightlife of Tokyo during a zombie outbreak, this is the game for you. Now with the top 3 spots on this list, we are entering the exclusive zone. These games are only available on PS3 and probably never going to make it off this platform. And on top of that, they are all download only games. With that said, let's get this party started with Infamous Festival of Blood. The stakes are high in this one. After being bitten by the Vampire Queen, we have just a few hours to take her and her goons down, or we become her slave for eternity. But the story just acts as an excuse for giving Cole a bunch of vampire-style powers and letting us loose in a massive open world. This standalone DLC for Infamous 2 feels like a Hollywood blockbuster. Fighting vampires while grinding through the world really sucks you in. It's a humorous and action-packed side story with tons of extra activities that will easily distract you, like trophy hunting, searching for collectibles, or just goofing around the city. For a standalone DLC, there is a surprisingly large amount of content here. The next game in your download queue should be House of the Dead 4. One of the finest light gun shooters, is a PS3 download only exclusive. So you either own the arcade version, which is a bit pricey, or you get the download version on your PlayStation 3. The House of the Dead series is considered an arcade classic with its cheesy, poorly scripted and over-the-top horror story. If you ever played a House of the Dead game, then you basically know what to expect. Zombies, mutants and monsters are coming for you, but thanks to a trustworthy Uzi and some quick whiffs and one-liners, the hordes of the undead don't stand a chance. There are tons of zombies waiting to be mowed down to reach a boss fight at the end of every level. This is the best practice of light gun shooting. But keep in mind, if you're not doing well in a level, your characters make sure to let you know on the result screen.
You shouldn't be having this much trouble.
I can't believe it.
And now to our final place on this list. Today we already talked about Dead Space, but this DLC made my number one spot for a reason. Not only is it a PS3 exclusive DLC for Dead Space 2, it's also a download only DLC. So if you're into Dead Space, you should check it out. Dead Space 2 Severed. This DLC fits really well in the Dead Space lore, and if you're a fan of this series, I highly recommend you give it a try. In this DLC, the story of Dead Space Extraction is continued. We are following Gabe Weller on board the Sprawl, where we try to reach his girlfriend, and that goes as well as you would expect on board of a space station overrun with necromorphs. Severed is 2 more hours of typical Dead Space 2 gameplay with a decent story that revolves around losing a loved one and again ends on a bitter note. Another bitter pill to swallow is the asking price for this DLC, which I only recommend for hardcore Dead Space fans. That's it guys! Right now I'm in a conflicted place as a PlayStation fan. I love the PlayStation 3 and I was hoping that Sony would compete with Xbox and focus more on their backwards compatibility program. So it's kind of sad to see that a huge library of 3 generations of PlayStation games are stuck on old and dying out hardware. But let me know what you guys think. Do you still play on your PlayStation 3 and which game is your favorite PSN game? And what are your thoughts on the non-existent backwards compatible strategy from Sony? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, kick the like button, sharing is caring, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great day and get the kick out of gaming.
You shouldn't be having this much trouble.
I can't believe it.